Players have wanted Mob of the Dead to return since, well, the idea of a DLC 5 even started within Black Ops 3. It was something that, while we didn't get it within Zombies Chronicles, the dream is still kind of alive for the future in a sense, because Jason Blundell had mentioned that he has a bigger plan for the map, something that is a little different and that we'd see it in the future at some point. But what if we see that in the next game and with a little bit of a twist? Maybe not as a remaster, but a complete remake. In this one, we're going to be talking about the theory and the idea that maybe we'll be seeing Mob of the Dead return as maybe a pre-order bonus map or a collector's edition map similar to what we saw within the Giant and how that operated, or perhaps just as the first map in general, a revisitation of Mob of the Dead in Call of Duty 2018. Let's codename it Black Ops 4, though that probably won't be the actual title. Maybe we'll return here to this and we're going to be discussing this little theory here about it in this one. So firstly, Mob of the Dead. The idea once again stems from Jason Blundell's multiple interviews in which he said that he had a different purpose for Mob of the Dead, and that's perhaps one of the reasons why it was not included in Zombies Chronicles. That then stemmed a lot of people to believe that maybe this will be coming at a later point in time, and add that in on top of an interview that he did in which he mentioned that Mob of the Dead was initially meant to be much larger, that it was something that there was multiple different areas of the map that were accessible that were not in the final product, as well as with the storyline implications that there's an entire basement laboratory of Mob of the Dead that we never get to see as players. It's really intriguing to see how this would then play out. So while perhaps that entire detail of an entire basement to Alcatraz and Mob of the Dead that we never see, maybe that is something that is just completely tied up and made there so that we can see when we go back and get the blood vials. Perhaps that's the only revisitation of it that we ever have, and that's something that is not seen on screen, but rather a detail off screen that we get for the storyline. Perhaps that's what happens. Perhaps we end up getting to replay Mob of the Dead with Victus, the Tranzit crew, and get to see how that ends up going towards that, whether that be something that leads up to, and that's the ending points of the Easter egg or something like that, where they go on ice as it's put, and that's where the story picks up. That's the end of the map, but it picks up with there. Or if it's something that happens after Victus is no longer on ice, and it picks up from there from the perspective of Victus and the Transit crew, rather than with the premise original 4. Additionally, a little extension of this theory is something that the Transit crew will be returning in some capacity simply because of how the timeline works out and everything like that. So if you want to take a look at the dates, Green Run or Transit takes place on October 21st of 2035. Die Rise then follows up with the Great Leap Forward on October 22nd, 2035, which is one day later. Buried or Resolution 1295 is taking place on December 31st of 2035. And then we also get additional dates of that being the Rift being January 19th, 2036, as well as going back then, taking a look at the Broken Arrow facility, the abandoned Broken Arrow facility from the storyline and the comics, that taking place in June 24th of 1996. Then once we switch over to a different alternate universe within the timeline and the Chronorium is already retrieved, the Alcatraz Laboratory, as we mentioned here already in this video, takes place on July 4th, 1941. So there's a bit of time hopping that could suggest maybe we end up seeing this here because we've never seen these other things play out, other than maybe in the comics a little bit here and there. But other than that, there's still some things that we could play around with. But as for that, I think the only maybe real introduction, or reintroduction rather, of Victus or the Transit crew may come in the wake of exploring the laboratory within Alcatraz or Mob of the Dead. I think that is probably the leading of the two theories here with this one, that we may end up seeing Mob of the Dead return at a later point in time. Perhaps the next Treyarch title as a collector's edition map, and perhaps the starting map, whatever it may be, because we've kind of seen a recent trend here where the original maps may not necessarily reflect that of what is coming up in the DLC content season and extending that storyline out. Shadows of Evil was a nice little breakaway here in which we got not a one-off, but in a sense where the crew, we don't see them return as playable characters. Perhaps that's what happens with Victus or the Transit crew. We revisit them one final time to get the closure and everything like that based off of what we see or have detailed to us and have yet to see from the Alcatraz basement laboratory. I thought this little theory that's been going around has been incredibly interesting simply because, once again, I'd love to see Mob of the Dead return. Firstly, that's kind of a bias, but with everything that we've seen thus far in terms of Jason Blundell's mention of it coming back at some point, how it has a higher purpose, how it was completely different, and how they had plans maybe a little bit differently before its release as well, I just think that it might point towards something, and I thought that this theory kind of lines up with that nicely. So that said, drop your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all speculation, tinfoil hats, whatever you want to call it here with it, or if you even want to go as far as to say as that's what we're wearing right now when talking about this. But drop thoughts down there in the comments. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything we have here regarding Zombies Chronicles, zombies in general, Black Ops 3 multiplayer, Call of Duty World War II, Modern Warfare Mastered, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. And if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter to stay connected, that's the best place to get to me outside of YouTube and practically live on Twitter. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. For all that said and out of the way, hopefully you guys have a fantastic day. My name is Nikolai Espresso. Take care and peace.